Joining us is the president of the Consumers Forum in Nigeria, Mrs. Shola Salako. Many thanks for joining us on TVC News. Now, would you say that consumers in Nigeria are adequately respected and protected?
Well, I would say that we are better from what we used to be, but we're not yet there. That's how we do it. We've made some progress. It's slow, but there's been some progress. But we still have a whole long way to go.
Well, what issues would you say have undermined consumer rights in general?
Well, looking at the Nigerian context, basically we'll say first and foremost because there really isn't enough legislation to protect consumers. There are few and scattered, but there's not been a policy thrust that has taken consumer protection as a key aspect of governance. And so that has actually affected the way consumers have been taken care of or considered to be important in the business of in commerce generally.
Well, one wonders why celebrate Consumer Rights Day, really?
Well, it's always an opportunity, one day in a year, to remind everybody that we are all consumers, that the way we consume affects our environment, and everybody has to have some sense of responsibility and also some level of rights. I don't think it's too much for the world to at least pay attention to the fact that every single one of us, whoever we may be, at one point we're consuming something, consuming products, consuming services, and it's important for us to recognize that that act that we do so subconsciously actually makes a difference and helps the world go around. If as a consumer I don't buy, there will be no business, there will be no employment, there will be so many things that will not happen. So it's not asking for too much. Just one day in 365 days.
Well, would you tell us what those rights are exactly? Well,
there are 8 generally globally accepted consumer rights that we have. It ranges from the rights to be the heard. You also have a right to have a sustainable environment, to a right to basic needs of life, to the shelter, of food, of housing, of clothing. Those are rights that every human being does have for being on this earth. You also have a right to redress. That means if I purchase anything from you or I'm not satisfied with the way you are serving me, I should have a means by which I can seek redress. We have a right to I'm trying to remember all of the 8 right now, but there's an 8 simple basic list of rights that you need, that you have, that you can enforce or insist on, that is guaranteed by the United Nations, which practically all the nations on the earth are have subscribed to.
Well, have there been cases of infringement of these rights?
Loads of cases. Loads of cases. In Nigeria, we see them every day. The unfortunate situation is that because we don't have the legal framework to allow and to enable consumers to go ahead and do what they need to do to get redress, you don't really hear a lot about those cases. But in Lagos State, there are structures in government that actually do look out to help consumers who get around to complaining. But those structures can be improved. There have been cases like that.
Okay, so how well can these rights be protected?
Well, I feel that the primary responsibility is government, because consumer protection is a good governance indices. And so if government will take responsibility and understand that they have a right or they have a responsibility to protect their citizens in the areas of their commercial activity and try to make the environment of commerce more conducive and safe for consumers, I think that we will get somewhere. But first and foremost, for Nigeria, we really do need more government awareness and acceptance of responsibility.
Do Nigerians really know their rights as consumers?
No. Well, we are doing all we can. Appearing on shows like this helps us, but we really need to do a lot more.
Indeed.
We really do need to do a lot more. But you see, the thing with it is, for you to enlighten a consumer that he has these rights in this place, you must have structures that protect those rights. Because if I tell you, you have rights in this area, and then you go to try to enforce those rights and there are no structures to support you, then that means I haven't told you the truth. That's why we must start with government enacting the right laws, approving the right structures, and setting up those structures and funding them. Then you can now tell the consumer, if that means somebody does this to you, go here. You'll get
Have you been trying to get the government support, and what has militate that?
We've tried a lot. At least in Lagos State, I can tell you that we've achieved enough, I mean, up to a great extent. The governor, Governor Babatunde Raji-Fashola, has signed into law a Lagos State consumer law.
Yeah.
So we have a consumer protection law. It is yet to be fully implemented, but we now have a law. Okay. So we can now start to do work in enlightening consumers to say, this is what the law says, this is how you can be protected, this is where you go when your rights are infringed upon. So in Lagos State, we're moving forward. I can't say that for the rest of Nigeria, and I cannot really talk for other parts of Africa. But I know that we're inching forward, and there are organizations like ours who are doing a lot of work in that area.
And that's just in Lagos State?
Yes.
Well, the theme for this year's World Consumer Rights Day is healthy diets. Tell us some of the impact of poor diet on health.
The first thing you would notice about poor diet is that your productivity level is very, 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 very reduced. When you eat properly, your physiology does not grow as it should, and your mental capacity is reduced, and you end up affecting the whole of a nation's productivity, because the productivity of a nation is its people. So if you have a people who are not well fed, or who are being malnourished, or who are eating wrongly and is affecting their health, they become sickly. And when they are sickly, they can't be productive. So those are immediate, direct effects of poor diets, not just poor diet, unhealthy diets. Because it's one thing for you to have a poor diet, it's another thing for you to eat and still be eating unhealthy. I think the challenge that we have mostly is a lot of unhealthy diet effects. And that's what's bringing up all these strange illnesses that are not common to the African nations. Cancers and all have gone on the increase. Yeah. It's a function of the things that we're taking that we're not used to taking before. And so we need to raise awareness about that and let people know that they need to make right choices. And then we need to influence the manufacturers of those products to know what is going on, what is being the content of those products they put out there, and how Nigerians and consumers can protect themselves from consuming stuff that harm themselves, that harm their bodies over the long run.
Why would you say that unhealthy food is more readily available and affordable to people generally?
Well, you look at the situation of the fact that unhealthy food is easier to produce. I was at a meeting yesterday when we were talking about this, and you find out that the reasons why manufacturers will include content that is unhealthy for you is because those content also have addictive tendencies. So if you become addicted to them, you consume more, and when you consume more, you buy more of their products. So it's part of capitalism, really. That's driving that. But government also has a responsibility to balance that out, to say, okay, these people don't have direct contact to you, they can't decide what you put in that pack, but I can, and I can watch you to make sure that you don't keep them on the path that destroys them. I think it's a cycle. But it's a cycle that can be properly managed.
Well, yes. Many thanks. Shola Salako, President, Consumers Forum.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Right.